Okay, the E3 conference, this is basically a video gamer's delight. They're in heaven here. It begins today in LA. And, we've already heard whispers of new technology, but the big announcements, they are still yet to come. So, what does that mean for how you want to play these big gaming companies? Microsoft, Sony, Take-Two. We've got 3 takes on 3 versus Trish. Brian Blau has the fundamentals. He's on the phone from E3 right now with us. Adam Mesh makes his debut as our chart guy. Good to see you, Adam. And Andrew Keene, a regular on the options trade. Okay, let's begin with you, Brian. You're there at the conference. What have you seen thus far? What are you most excited about?
Well, I wanted to mention sort of the Microsoft new project called Glassdoor. It's something that's really interesting in terms of what Microsoft is doing and how they're letting gamers connect to other types of systems. The basic idea is that you can play a game on your console, but you can also play companion content on your iPad or your Android device, something that Microsoft hasn't done before, that is sort of embracing these other platforms. So it's really interesting. Nintendo also sort of came out with a companion device sort of strategy as well. It's going to be interesting to see how people are enjoying their games this Christmas time when they can interact with them on multiple devices.
But you think Microsoft's been the biggest surprise here for everyone?
It is. It was a little bit of a surprise, but to be honest, over the long term, this is the natural evolution of how games are going to be played. We're all going to have lots of screens around us all the time, and that's just going to increase. And why not take advantage of them? Play games not only in your living room on multiple screens, but you can even take a screen with you in your pocket and potentially interact with it when you're out and about.
You can play them all the time. All right, Adam Mesh, I know that you're a little concerned about this sector. You say it looks pretty weak. Why?
I mean, you look at what happened to Kurt Schilling's company recently. He stands to lose $50 million, and they're all technically trading right off of 52-week lows, except for Microsoft. So when I see that on a chart, I need to see some momentum before I get in, and none of them are showing it to me right now. Okay,
let's talk about some specifics here. Nintendo, for example. What do you think of Nintendo right now?
I think they got beat to the punch. Wii U was supposed to be their big thing, but Microsoft did beat them to the punch with their smart glass, and technically they need to get back above 15 to show any strength, but below that I'm out of it.
NTDOY also looking a little weak to you right now?
Yeah, I think they're hanging on for dear life. They remind me, they showed an ability to survive for a long time, but I think they're in trouble too.
I know that you say if you had to pick one to go along with it would be Microsoft because technically they are looking a little bit more stable here, but that's also a pretty diverse business. Can you be basing a Microsoft play off of gaming?
Well, that's the reason why I like it, because it's a diverse business. They could stay out of trouble. Because I don't like the gaming sector, Microsoft was the only one that, just has a little bit of gaming, so I was comfortable with that. Another one with more upside might be Take-Two, because they have potential announcements coming about Grand Theft Auto 5, which a lot of people are talking about. So that could be another good risk-reward play where it sits now.
Okay, Andrew Keene, let's talk about what you're seeing within the options market, what you specifically are doing that may be tied to the E3 conference.
Yeah, when I was looking at the notes from the conference and I was going over the individual stocks, I was thinking about I might want to put a long position on Microsoft. But I agree with Adam, the chart looks very, very weak for Microsoft, even though it does look the best of the gaming stocks. So I looked at the weakest one. The weakest one is obviously Sony. It's hitting levels it hasn't hit in 25 years. It's about $13. I sold the July 14-15 call spread for 30 cents. I'm risking $70 per one lot to make $30. And I like this because I don't get short the stock till it rallies 10%, and earnings are in August, so I don't think there's really going to be a catalyst. Spider-Man is coming out the 4th of July, but year-over-year gaming sales is down 43%. If we're having a slowdown in Japan, in China, in Europe, gaming isn't going to be anything. Sony hasn't coming out with the new console until next year. PlayStation 3 has been very weak compared to PlayStation 1 and 2. I just don't see a catalyst going forward for the gaming stocks, except maybe Microsoft. I agree with the smart glass comments. So I want to be short Sony, but I wanted to find my risk versus reward, so I sold the call spread.
Okay, so let me just ask you, Andrew. I mean, some people might say, hey, gaming is a good recession-proof kind of play because, a lot of people like to go to the movies or maybe play some video games when things aren't that great. You totally disagree with that, though? The consumers will cut back, theoretically, on spending, and part of that cutback will entail these games?
Well, I don't know if it's cut back in spending. The two things is there's no new consoles that are going to come out this year. Sony came out with their Vita, and that's been a flop. So the consoles aren't going to come out till next year. Maybe when the consoles come out, we'll see some spending. They'll buy the hardware, then they'll buy the software. But if you look at it, what do you see people on the L or on the train? They're playing with their smartphone and they're playing with their tablets. This is losing in the video game industry. The video game industry is suffering because the smartphones are so good and the tablets are so good. The Galaxy and, of course, the iPad has a lot of video games on there. So why would you spend so much on hardware where you can have this iPad that does everything? These tablets are amazing nowadays. Smartphones are amazing. And what's losing? Sony's losing, Microsoft's losing, and the video game consoles are losing because of this.
Okay, Adam, do you agree with what Andrew's saying here?
I see what he's saying in the charts. You know, these stocks, as I said, they all look weak. And yeah, there's a smaller market because as people become adults, they're using the phones. So the market's shrinking on these games, and it's evident in all the charts. So that's why I'm staying away.
Okay, Brian, so, you know, it sounds like I've got a pretty negative group here when it comes to the gaming industry.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the other side of the table on this one. I think the actually gaming industry is doing great. The number of gamers are up year over year. You look at social gaming and Zynga, it's really popular, although Zynga is not, raking in, the revenue. They certainly have expanded the gamer market by a large margin. Also, gaming in Asia is really becoming big these days, and in fact, a lot of gaming companies from Asia are now making inroads in the U.S. I think there's a lot of promise there, too. Okay,
on that happy note, we're leaving it there. Thank you so much. Here's the cheat sheet. Brian Blau says he likes what he's hearing out of Microsoft, playing games on a multi-platform. He likes the international aspect of the gaming industry, saying that Asia will continue to grow. Adam Mesh sees a weak sector, but perhaps Microsoft is the most stable. It is diversified, he points out. And then you heard Andrew Keene pointing out that the sector has been down 43%. Game sales have been down 43% this year. He does have a bearish trade on Sony.